My name is Jay Nanda. I'm the founder and executive director of Urban Dove in New York City, which is an out-of-school time program for at-risk youth, using sports as a hook to engage young people in educational programs. Our centerpiece program is one in which we train high school students to be coaches and mentors, and then place them in elementary and middle schools in their communities where they run after-school programs. We've been doing that for about 15 years now, mostly in East Harlem in the South Bronx. And 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, we launched the idea of creating a school, Urban Dove Team Charter School, which basically blows out the idea of sports-based youth development, took all the lessons that we learned in the out-of-school time program about how sports is a vehicle for life skills and youth development, and created a school in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, that has as its core and sort of foundational cultural piece a sports-based youth development program where every student in the school is part of a team, and every student every day participates in a sports health and fitness curriculum, several hours each day, with the idea that youth development is a critical piece to academic success. And the school specifically targets students who are at high risk of dropping out, 15 and 16-year-olds with less than 8 credits. And we see a lot of special education, we see a lot of social and emotional issues, and basically what we have proposed in this experiment is that academic interventions are not enough, that in fact, unless we develop these young people in a more holistic way, that the academic interventions will never really take hold. And the path that we've used to deliver this youth development piece is through sports.
What were some of the things that you learned when you were developing this model that you are now applying to Urban Dove, the Academy?
So what we learned at Urban Dove over the past decade or so are sort of two critical things. One is that sports is obviously very engaging. And the other thing that we learned is that for high school kids especially, who are truly in the self-select category, when you're 15, 16 years old, you participate in programs that you want to participate in. And for kids who are not athletes, that are not as interested in sports, one of the ways that you can engage them is by creating this coach-mentor, youth coach model. And so we've been able to engage a lot of high school kids who are not particularly athletic by asking them to be coaches. And so that's been a very powerful vehicle. And it's actually got less to do with the sports part as it does with the mentor part. But because sports is such a ingrained part of our society and our culture, everyone can relate to it, everyone can participate in it, everyone knows the basic vocabulary of it. So high school students who are not great athletes still have enough of a knowledge about it that they can be coaches, and they get a tremendous self-esteem boost from that. They get a tremendous confidence boost from that. And so at Urban Dove Team Charter School, we've basically taken those two things and we've said, how do you get a population, this high-risk population of students, engaged? How do you get them to be even interested in school? Well, one of the ways that you can do that is through sports and just having everybody participate in sports health and fitness. And we take a very broad definition of sports. Our kids do yoga, our kids do weights, cardio, basketball, soccer, you name it, wiffle ball. So there's a lot of way to engage kids through sports. And then the other piece that we're layering in is the Urban Dove, what we call our High Risers program, where all of our students will get trained to be coaches and then go out into their community and push into phys ed classes and to recess and take on that coach's role. So they feel like they're going to a school that's about sports and they're learning sports themselves, and then they're becoming advocates for sports and coaches. And it's this sort of holistic approach to making them feel much better about themselves and feel much better about the school that they're going to. And then if we can engage them in that way, then the academic interventions, I don't want to say are the easy part, but those are in place. People have been having success with various academic interventions for a long time. We don't have any silver bullets in the classroom. We just have kids that actually want to be there and are willing to pay attention and listen and learn.
You mentioned using sort of sports as the lure, as it were.
Yep.
It also sounds like you're using coaching and mentorship as a lure. How do you bring those together, and what are some of the, I guess, challenges that you found having an academy versus sort of after-school program?
Well, starting a school is just a whole different ballgame. From a logistic organizational standpoint, we're a charter school, so we're a public school authorized by the state of New York. So that's just, you're using public government dollars for the majority of your stuff. So it's a massive undertaking, from a compliance issue. But when it comes to the kids, it's a very similar dynamic in that, I think what young people really want at the end of the day is to feel part of a team. They want to feel a part of something. And I think we've known this for a long time, and we've always pointed to gangs as really just being teams. They just do bad things. And if you could get kids to be part of a team that did good things, then we'd be successful. But I think that because our system of sport in our country is really an elitist system, especially at the school level. You have 1,000 kids that go to high school X, and you have 10 spots on the basketball team. And unless you're in that small percentage, you don't play sports. So many kids do not feel part of a team. So they find other teams to be a part of, and sometimes those are good, and sometimes those are not so good. And so I think what we have found that's universal amongst our after-school program and our school program is that kids really do want to be part of a team. And what we've tried to create are positive peer groups. We're very successful, I think, because young people that enter our program right away know that they're in a culture of high expectations, they're in a culture of acceptance, they're in a culture of a sort of a non-elitist culture when it comes to the sports piece. And that's very attractive for kids that didn't make the team. But it's challenging also in that, we find sports is easy when you have the 10 best basketball players in the school. As a coach, your job is easy. You don't have to teach Joe to dribble and teach Bob to shoot. They all know how to shoot and dribble, and you can sort of work at a high level. But when you take this sort of hodgepodge of kids, to make the sport piece engaging for everybody is a challenge because you have such a differentiation in terms of skill level, interest level. And so how you keep kids engaged and connected and make it fun for the kids who actually are pretty good and also make it fun for the kids who are not so good is difficult, and we struggle with that at times.
How do you measure success?
So our after-school program, basically we have 3 outcomes that we're looking for. Our high school kids to graduate high school. We have a 98% graduation rate. We want them to enroll in college. 95% of our kids enroll, and then we want them to graduate college, and over 90% of them do that. I mean, those are the 3 things. I mean, our mission at Urban Dove is to create independent adults, economically independent, socially independent, and emotionally independent. And if you don't graduate high school, go to college, and graduate college, you're not doing any of those things. So those are really the 3 keys. And, at the school level, we have a much wider gradation of outcomes because you can measure things like grades and credit accumulation and those kinds of things, and even academic, even attendance rates, for example. I mean, for our students that go to high school get less than 8 credits, they drop out of the system in New York at about an 85% rate. I mean, that's just that's terrifying. I mean, 85 out of every 100 kids that doesn't get those 11 credits in their first year is going to leave the system. I mean, it's crazy. They attend school at about a 47% rate. So if you look at things just as simple as average daily attendance, retention, matriculation, gaining credits, I mean, these are simple things that we can measure, and the baseline is so low that if we can even move the needle a little bit, we'll be very excited. I think once our school's only in its 2nd year, so I think, in 10 years we'll be, high school graduation, college, all those things will be our measurements as well. For right now, we're taking very baby steps and just trying to show that our kids are coming to school more often. We have an 88% attendance rate this year so far, that our kids are coming back. 90% of our kids returned from year 1. I mean, these are phenomenal statistics for this group of students. So we're measuring things very, very small. The after-school program's been around 15 years. I mean, we're starting to track that of college graduates now, so that's very exciting.
So last question, what is the logo? What's the logo of Urban Dove? I mean, what's your mascot?
When I first started Urban Dove, I had a little dove. It was from clip art on my Microsoft gallery. We've gotten a little more sophisticated than that. We've had some other folks come in. We did a lot of violence prevention stuff in the beginning, so Dove was kind of a representation of that. We've branched out. We're a little bit more sophisticated, but the name has really stuck. I mean, we're certainly about inner cities. We're certainly about working with that population. But the dove, I think, does represent some sort of, peaceful, healing kind of image, and I think that is what we are trying to get our kids to have a mindset towards. But we'll see as we grow. Team charter school, obviously, we wanted to put the team in there because that's such a big part of what we do. And that's actually gotten a lot of traction. And I think on the Urban Dove side, we may think about how team gets sort of pushed in there.